Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Welcome everybody to our Buddhist Fellowship Sunday service. Today we are very honored and delighted to have Ajahn Santutthi all the way from Perth in Australia. Ajahn is busy building his monastery, so we are very grateful that he's taking time off to give us this very inspirational talk. Thank you, Ajahn. And he's also a very fantastic speaker on YouTube, so we're really looking forward to it. Before we start, may I just give a short introduction to Ajahn Santutthi? So here we go. Born to a family of Vietnamese refugees, Ajahn Santutthi was in training to become a chef before discovering Buddhism at the age of 21. At the age of 23, he had decided to give it up and walk the path of the Buddha. He was ordained at Bodhinyana Monastery by Ajahn Brahm in 2005. After 7 years, he left to assist Ajahn Kemavaro at Wat Buddha Dhamma in Wiseman's Ferry in New South Wales. After returning to Perth in 2018, he began work to establish Kusala Hermitage on a 26-acre property in the hills of Rollystone in Perth. From early 2021, he will be living there as an abbot. And so, Ajahn, over to you. May I invite Ajahn Santutthi to give us a 10-minute guided meditation followed by the talk. Thank you, Ajahn, for coming on today.
Yep, no problem. Okay, I'll just start off by doing the Namo Tassa. Yep. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing a 10-minute meditation. So we can, what day is it today? Monday. So I assume everybody's, no, today's Sunday. So I assume everybody's tired from a busy week working, and it's always nice to get away from the world of the 5 senses for a few minutes, to to just block everything out so that we can rest our minds, re-energize it, and go to a place where there isn't much thinking going on. And when there's a lack of thinking, that's where you can start to experience some peace in your life. So first of all, meditation is very easy. And like I said before, we are trying to block out the world. And we do that by closing our eyes. You close your eyes. You close your eyes and you get yourself into a comfortable position. As always, you don't need to sit on the floor. You can sit on the chair. The chair is actually quite comfortable. It's a meditation position that does not lead to any pain. It is a meditation position where it helps you forget about your body so that you can focus more on your mind. And you just allow things to calm down by itself. Sometimes I feel the only meditation instruction that you need to have is to just sit down. Sit down for a period of time. That's all you need. As Buddhists, we know so much information. So how much more information do you need to know? You don't need to know that much. So all you're going to do is just sit down and just allow the momentum of your life to carry the meditation to whichever direction the mind wants to go to. If the mind has been making merit, been living a good life, the momentum will carry into states of peace, stillness and quietness. But if the mind has been unskillful, telling lies, getting into arguments, then the mind won't find its way to peace. But instead, it will come across agitation, restlessness. So as you meditate, basically the momentum of your life, the things that you have been doing, that carries the meditation practice. So if you have been living a good life, you should get good meditation. Okay, now we can finish the meditation, and then we can come out and we can start to give a talk. The title of the talk is "The World is Created by Me." So I had like 30 talks to choose from, and I went through all of them, and there were a couple of topics that I would like to talk about, but I just chose one, and I decided to choose this topic. The world is created by me. And yes, this is my first time giving a Zoom talk. And it's kind of funny. It's like it's sort of apt to the idea of how the world is created by a person. You could be sitting, like in this instance, I'm sitting in a house in Gosnells, where we serve the food. But as soon as I look at the screen, I get transported somewhere else. I get transported into the world of technology, where I am connecting with a few people from Singapore. So one moment I am here in Perth in the dining room, but in the next moment I'm in Singapore. And how is that created? It's sort of created by your own mind, really. It's in a sense, you can forget the world around you, and you can be in a different place. And that's how I think that's how that's how the world sort of works. And when you look at the teachings of the Buddha, what these teachings are trying to do is create a mind over the years of practice to look at the world in a particular way, and to get to that point where you can start looking at the world, say in terms of the Dhamma, where you can look at the world and be peaceful with the world, or when you look at the world and you can understand it for what it is, so you can let go of the suffering, you can endure the difficulties, and that you can have, in a sense, a more easier lifestyle. And the thing is, how do you get there? And the way to get there is, well, what are you doing, in a sense? What are you creating in your own mind? And it's all very, just starts from a beginning. There is a beginning to every story. There's a beginning to every path. And as a Buddhist, or as an aspiring Buddhist, we just come along this path without having a clue what is going on. We're coming in to investigate, to see what is actually happening with this practice of Dhamma. And then when we come in, you hear the teachings from the monks, and they talk about this and that, and then you start to implement these teachings into your life. So that is where you're starting to make changes into the way that you're seeing things. And I think that's a very important aspect of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha did talk about, it's the way that we train our perception, the way we look at the world, which causes us happiness or suffering. Or when we listen to Ajahn Brahm, he always talks about changing one's attitude to whatever is going on in life. And it's that these attitudes which help us accept life for what it is. How do we implement these teachings into our daily lives? Where do we start? That's the question. And I think it always starts off like just trying to develop a certain amount of goodness in one's intention. And it's just like every day is an opportunity to practice. And if there's one thing in the suttas that I find quite inspiring, it's a simple teaching, but it's a teaching about how one makes gives dana. One gives dana to the monks in the morning, and when one gives dana to the monks in the morning, they they create a certain happiness in their lives. So in a sense, after doing something good, there is happiness in the morning. And then the Buddha would go on and say that, oh yeah, if you make merit or generate some goodness in the afternoon, then happiness would arise in the afternoon. And then when you go on throughout your day and you make more wholesome actions, wholesome speech, just being a good person, then you have more happiness. You have happiness in the evening. And when I read that, I thought to myself, this is such a simple teaching. It's very simple in its nature, but at the same time, it's very true. You know, as human beings, we are searching, I think, for a sense of like contentment. We're trying to find a way to feel comfortable within ourselves and within our surroundings. And the question is, how do we do it? You know, how do we overcome our mind, which is overthinking? How do we overcome our mind, which is stressing out too much? You know, what do we do, or who do we talk to? But I think when you start to experience more contentment, more peace in your life, it's something which you don't really understand like on a conceptual level. It's something that you feel within. It's so it's more of a feeling thing. Like you go about your everyday life, and in a way you just feel good about yourself. There is this sense of like contentment which is coursing, like which is in your being, yeah. And this is a state of mind where there is no anxiety. It's a state of mind where there is no stress. And I think as you know, people looking for answers in life, this is the place where they want to go to. And you know, I just heard something interesting earlier on today, and it was about you know, as Buddhists, is we have all the information. We have all the information, but how do we implement it? Sorry about that. And it's sort of like, you know, because I used to be a chef, so and there's this saying that goes around, and it's sort of like, you know, you may have the recipe to cook what you want to cook, but you don't have the ingredients. So in a sense, as Buddhist practitioners, we all have the recipe. We know what the Four Noble Truths are. We know what the Noble Eightfold Path is. We know what the dependent origination and all that kind of stuff. We have the recipe. But sometimes we are missing the ingredients. And the ingredients in this sense is going out and looking for them, putting in the effort, putting in the right intention in order to get these ingredients. So, you know, like if we want peace in our lives, we have to put the ingredients of maybe getting ourselves to a meditation retreat, or maybe putting aside time to do some meditation. This is how we achieve a sense of peace and a sense of stillness in our lives by basically meditating. looking for those ingredients at the right place. And it's sort of like, and it is true, the ingredients of inner happiness, of contentment, of stillness, that comes from within our minds, and that's the topic of the talk. Or it's created by me. It is, when you get angry at somebody, how is that created? Is that created by the other person? Or is it created by you? Or when you are happy, is that happiness created by a certain material object that you obtained, or certain successes that you have? Does the happiness really come from there? If you look deeply, then you can understand the happiness. It comes from within. And the Buddha did say, the mind is the forerunner of all things. And you can find yourself in a situation, and you have two people looking at it, and they see completely different things. And as somebody who wants to sort of train the mind, we can pick how we react to a certain situation. And one of the stories that I remember now is a story told by Ajahn Chah, and it was about two friends. They were walking down a road in the middle of Thailand, and they come across a duck that was minding his own business. And as they were walking past the duck, one of the friends says, "Hey, look, that's a duck." And the other friends know. He said, No, that's a chicken. So both people saw the same thing, but they thought differently. So the one that went home and accepted the fact that was a duck, which it was, he slept peacefully. He slept well. But the other person who argued in his mind that wasn't a duck, but instead it was a chicken. And because he created all this anxiety and worry and fault finding in his mind, he wasn't able to sleep well. So the moral of the story is like, whatever you see in life, whatever you add on to it, that's the result that you get. And like I was talking on Friday night, and I truly believe that life is a collection of actions, a collection of intentions that lead us to the well-being that we experience today. Everything builds up, not from the moment you could become Buddhist, but from the moment that you were born in your previous lives or whatever. Every little action, every little interaction, it influences our mind to the point of, this is who we are today. Yeah, this is who we are today. So if you see like an extremely sad person, you can sort of say to yourself, that sadness didn't really happen in a short period of time. But that sadness was something that you could say has been developed over many years, to develop over many years. And that's interesting, It's like the development, the path is about developing the mind. Yeah? It's like what you add into it is what you get. So when you see say for example, like the famous monk in Thailand, his name is Ajahn Ganha, and he is known for his like metta and happiness. And you could logically say, that kind of trait wasn't really developed overnight or in a short period of time, but it was something which was developed over many years, many years. And when we when we look at this path of practice, we have to think of it in terms of developing the mind for many years. You can't expect to go to the Buddhist fellowship, listen to a couple of talks, and then your life will be okay. It doesn't work that way. But instead, you try to understand it's a gradual and somewhat long process. It's been said many times from many teachers when the Buddha states that in no long time that a person becomes like enlightened. And when they say that, some people think, oh, in no long time. Well, maybe that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but no. Like in the Buddhist ideology, in no long time is compared to many eons or many lifetimes. So, you can't expect things to happen quickly. You have to learn how to be patient. You have to learn how to take your time. Just slowly but surely nudge your way towards more peace, more happiness, more clarity of mind. And that's why I think the many teachers they compare the Dhamma to nature, because in nature it takes a very long time. Nature takes a long time to develop. If you go into one of the inspiring forests, I think there's a nice park in Singapore. If you go in there, that took a while to happen. All the greenery, the beauty, the nature. It takes time. But if you want, and it's not like Dhamma is not like construction work. You can knock everything together and build a house in 6 months. That's not how you build the Dhamma. Dhamma is something which you grow, like how a forest grows. It takes time. You have to nurture it, give it water, giving it the right conditions, and then it will slowly grow and become something beautiful. Yeah, that's what Dhamma does. It creates beauty within a person. And I always thought, like as a younger monk, it's like like we compare the practice to like trees growing in the forest, and it is true. Some of us blossom very quick as practitioners. We're the fast-growing trees, or some people we move at average speeds, or some people move very slowly. Some people even move backwards. But the main thing, I think, personally, is that we are growing in the Dhamma. We are growing in the practice. No matter how fast we move, no matter how slow, the main point is that we are growing. And that gives us hope. That gives us that sense of dedication to something that we see that's been working. If we don't see that it works, it's sort of like when you go to the shop. You buy some moisturizing cream, and they claim that it has all these benefits and it does all these wonderful things. And then when you try it, it doesn't work. So what do? You throw it out, right? And in the same way, in the same way, when you're practicing the Dhamma and you use like well, it's not a very good example. Just say the moisturizing cream. The moisturizing cream does work, all right? The moisturizing cream, it does work. And you see the benefits, so you continue to use it. And in the same way, with the Dhamma, you try out these teachings. You know, what kind of results do you get when you're kind to somebody? What kind of results do you get when you implement, like, you know, teachings like non-self or trying to understand life through the Noble Eightfold Path, or just letting go a little bit more? You know, what does that do to your life? And if it works, what do? You just carry on using it. Carry on using it. And the more you use it, the more, you know, the tree, the more you use it, the more your practice grows. You know, your practice grows little by little, like how a tree grows in the forest. And in order to cook the recipe of happiness, we have to find the right ingredients. And the right ingredients is in these teachings of the Dhamma. And there's like, you know, to be honest, I live life as a monk for a long time, and you know, the things that really propel like my practice to the point of where it is now are the simple things that you read in the Dhamma books. It's like the acts of generosity that you the act of generosity that you make, like in whatever community that you live, whether it's helping out with a building, or whether it's just talking to somebody who's in a little bit of stress. And you know, these are the ingredients which is in the recipe to like more peace, more stillness, more happiness. And the other thing is just exercising a little bit of common sense. A little bit of common sense, you know. If it feels right, if it is creating harmony within yourself and within other people, then yeah, that's something that you should do. Or you know, if your mind has been a little bit too restless, you've been thinking too much, then what does common sense tell you? It tells you to just break away from everything and give yourself some meditation time. Or if you're holding on to something, somebody said something nasty, or yeah, and you start to become a grudge holder. You know, people that cannot forgive other people for what they did. How does that affect your mentality? It doesn't really help it. It just makes it, you're just going into a darker hole. So what do? You just learn how to let that go. Grudges are not worth holding on to. That just creates more tension with it, tension within the two people, which is having the grudge. Yeah, and then like you know, living in a monastery, it's like when people hold a grudge, they become difficult to live with, and that's not very like you know, Dharma orientated. That goes in the opposite direction. But if you're a person who learns how to let go and not hold a grudge, then that's actually more of a cause for harmony within a community. So these are the things, you know, you learn. And the one thing is to just learn how to live a more simple life. One of those ingredients that you can add into the recipe. You know, how much do you really need? How much do you need to chase for? Do you need to have those things that other people have? Do you need to be materialistic? Or would you rather be content, having a happiness? What are you really searching for? And like those inner qualities that we're looking for, those spiritual qualities that we're looking for, they are usually generated by living a more simple, more calm kind of lifestyle. And this simplicity and calm has healing effects, I believe. The simplicity and calm allows us to make changes in our minds. And just think about it. If you live a stressful life, do you think you can practice the Dhamma well, living a stressful life? Or if you live a life which is calm, which is simple, how do you think the Dhamma practice will go? When the mind is calm, when the mind is simple, then it's easier to make adjustments to become a more peaceful, kind, contented person. And a nice example that I like to use was I was talking to one of our supporters, and she used to be a smoker. Yeah, she smoked cigarettes for 30 years, and she had a business. She ran a restaurant, dealing with, and she said one of the things that really made her stress skyrocket was to have a business partner. And I think all you guys understand that, because when you have a business partner, you're going to see things differently. Greed is going to arise, and greed just ruins a lot of things. So because she found out that because she was in a stressful environment, the one thing that she did when she was stressed out was to have a cigarette. Just go out and have a cigarette because it calms me down. I just go and have a cigarette. But in the back of her mind, she knew that she had to quit because it's bad for her health. But she couldn't because she was too stressed out. So after many years of running her business, dealing with business partners, she decided to let that job go, to look for something more simpler. So now, after 30 years, she's working in a factory, and she's just packing food or something like that. And she said now, because she's living she's working for somebody, which is less stressful, and she has a calmer lifestyle. And when she's tried to quit smoking cigarettes, she could. Yeah. So you can understand. It's like, wow. When I heard this, like, wow, that is so true. It's like, yeah, when we find ourselves in highly stressed situations, then these bad habits, they start to arise. It may not be spoken, but usually when people get stressed out, they get angry, they get irritated, they get annoyed. And that's all because of a stressed out environment. And sometimes, as lay practitioners, you might be suffering a little bit of anxiety just coming home from work. Maybe the boss is an idiot, or your co-workers are nasty. And then when you go home, you just want to be calm and peaceful, but you can't. Because the work environment creates that anxiety within your mind. And then, so you understand, like the situations that you put yourself in, they cause for certain mind states to arise. But if you take away yourself from all of that, just say one day you may be able to take yourself into a monastery where it's quiet or peaceful, or maybe you can unwind. There's nobody to disturb you. You have a little bit more clarity of mind. When your mind is clear, then it's a lot easier to develop these Dharma states of mind, like peace, contentment, letting go, and all those kinds of things. That's why, just thinking about it a little bit more deeply, that's why the monastic life is set up like this, or why people keep the 8 precepts, because they want to make lives a lot simpler. And when you talk to lay Buddhas who you could say take the practice to heart. They really simplify their lives. You know, they don't have 3 TVs at home; they just have one. They just make things a lot more simpler and simpler and simpler. And then, you know, it's like, you know, you talk to Buddhists that practice for a long, long time. They say, yeah, we don't really hang out with friends anymore. You know, when you get together, you just talk about this and that. The conversation doesn't really get anywhere. So what do they do over time? They just lessen the amount of friends they have so they can have a more simpler life. So these are the things, you know, that we can do to make our lives just a little bit more simpler, calming our lives down. And when we, like when I said before, when we have a calm environment, a simpler lifestyle, changes in the mind happen a lot easier. That's why the monasteries are set up that way, in the forest. Limited internet access. We have the same routine every day. Nothing really excites the mind. Nothing really depresses it. In a sense, it's a conducive environment for the development of the mind. So when we find ourselves in a situation like that, we can find places which are quiet so we can meditate. We can find people to practice kindness on. We can listen to teachings which inspire us to put that little bit more effort into our practice. Because the truth is, what kind of practices can we add to our everyday lives? I think that's the most important thing. What you do on a daily basis. Building that up. Building up that kindness, that generosity, the letting go, accepting the world for what it is. You know, you don't have to be a critic. You don't have to find faults. You don't have to find faults in the world. You know, it's like when you read these critics, all they basically do is just getting angry at stuff. And that doesn't put your mind in a positive mental state. And it's sad to see that society celebrates this kind of thinking, to be critical and to be critical, to be angry, and it's like perfectly accepted, and they don't realize, it's like, in a sense, they don't realize, they know the harm that it causes, but they think it's a perfectly okay thing to do. But as you know, when we shift our minds from a worldly perception like that, we come across like teachings of the Buddha, creating harmony, being kind to one another. We can see the effects that has on our lives, and that's what it's like, the effects it has on our lives, and what kind of situation or what kind of place do we want to put ourselves in life. So when you practice the Buddhist path, what does it do? It leads to more stillness and more peace and more calm. And when you start to realize that, then that's something that you want to continue doing, continue practicing. You don't really want to go back to those old ways, which you thought as a human being was a perfectly normal thing to do. But on reflection, you could see how much harm that was causing you. So that's like think about it. It's like just like creating change in your life, like creating the way that your mind works. And I was just trying to recall recall my life before Buddhist, and then life after being a Buddhist. So before that, you had different values, and you thought that they were perfectly normal. And then when you become a Buddhist, your values change, and when you look back at your life before being a Buddhist, you understand that, hey, that wasn't really a wholesome thing to do. So you were different before, and you're different now. Yeah, that's what it is. And just like after a while, being a Buddhist for a long, long time, you basically forget who you were many, many years ago, and instead you become this like different person who's living a life today. It's like the world is created by me. That is so true. The Buddha said the mind is a forerunner of all things. And when you like listen to Ajahn Chah, it's like all the problems that you have comes from your own mind. He talks about, when they talk about, there's a story which goes around all the time, and it's about the, how the monks were complaining about the villagers having a party next to the monastery. Ajahn Brahm teaches this all the time, and it's basically, what Ajahn Chah was saying is like, your mind's creating all these problems. And the monks will go up to him and says, the sounds are disturbing us, Ajahn Chah. Why don't you go to the villagers and tell them to turn off their generators so they don't play the music? You're a well-respected man. They'll listen to you. And Ajahn Chah, just being a wise man, he says, it's not the sound that disturb you. It's you who disturb the sound. And that's like, it's such a simple teaching, but it's so powerful. It's just basically telling us it's the way that we look at life. And the way I'm talking right now, saying that, hey, there's always a solution to your problems. And sometimes that's what Dhamma sort of like comes across as, oh, you have a problem and the monks here, we have a solution. But that's not entirely true. These are just like little teachings that help you. If you implement them in your life time and time again, then eventually they'll work. But there'll be parts of your life where you can't do anything with the mind state you're having right now. Whether you're feeling sad or where you're feeling angry, or you're just getting annoyed with the sounds your neighbors are making, or you're not happy at work. And sometimes you may think, oh, I'll just apply one of these Dhamma teachings. Yeah, sometimes they do work, but sometimes they don't. So what do you do in situations where the pain, the suffering is not disappearing? The sadness is lingering on. And you're still mad at the person because they said something to you. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we can't let it go. Whatever we do, we can't change it. We turn on the TV to escape it. And as soon as we turn off the TV, those feelings are still there. Go and talk to a best friend so they can just calm us down. But after the conversation stops, the ill feeling still lingers. What do you do in a situation like that? And the truth is, you can't do nothing. You just have to learn how to be patient, and understand that these things, they don't last forever. So you don't fight it, you don't try to change it, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to take the energy away from it. And the way you take the energy away from a problem or away from something which is just lingering in your mind is to do nothing. Is to not add any fuel to the fire. Is not to try to run away from it, but to just stay there and just allow it to disappear. Because we all know we don't need to be enlightened to understand that things will eventually disappear. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, I went to this like first aid course, and they were talking about snake bites, and what you should do when you get a snake bite. You get a snake bite, you should do this, you should do that. And they have all these like modern ways of treating somebody who got like a poisonous snake bite. And they went on and gave a few pointers on how you do it, but then they also talked about the traditional way of how, like the traditional Aboriginals who lived in Australia, and they were bush people, living, before Australia got colonized. They lived simply like, tribal people, you could say. And so they have to find their own ways and means of overcoming a poisonous snake bite. And this is sort of apt to what I'm trying to say about allowing things to disappear by themselves. So you could say the old way of dealing with these things was when somebody got bitten by a snake, a poisonous one. They were told to not move because they knew the more you move, the more the poison will get pumped into your bloodstream, and that would be more devastating to your health. So instead, they would tell the person, just find a quiet place, a shaded place, because maybe in those, like out in Australia, out in the Australian bushes, it's hot and sunny. Just find a quiet place, lie down, and just wait. Just wait for the poison to work itself out of the body. And once the poison has worked itself up, you get up and you can live your life again. You don't die. You have saved your life. And like in the same way I was talking about before, yes, this Dhamma sounds fantastic. Yes, this Dhamma seems like it has all the answers, but there are times in our lives where no answer can help us. And come on, let's be real. We've come into situations where we think the Dhamma can help us, but sometimes it can't. So what do? We just do nothing. We just do nothing. There's no special formula. Be patient and just allow these things to just vanish by themselves. And eventually they will vanish. You don't have to push it. You don't have to prod it. It will happen by itself. And yeah, it's like we're all Buddhist. We're trying our best. There's no need to be hard on ourselves. You can just like lower your expectations as practitioners. And I think if you're understanding that you're like giving it your best shot, then yeah, you're doing the right thing. Not everybody can become monks and nuns. Not everybody's going to get enlightened in this life. And I think Like I've been living with Ajahn Brahm for a long, long time, and you could say in the early days he was very, I think he was very focused minded on getting people enlightened, because you're going to meditate sit 16 hours a day, sleep 4 hours a day, don't talk, don't eat, don't sleep, don't do nothing, become enlightened, let go of everything, blah blah blah. But now you get a different version of Ajahn Brahm, the more softer, gentler, more wiser person, a person who understands the human mind far better than a lot of people. And he does understand that, hey, not everybody is going to get enlightened in this life. Even the monks, even the nuns, they're going to have a tough time. So as a practitioner, we try to lower our expectations, know our limitations, and just work within it. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. And the one thing, though, I think is quite important is to listen to teachings every once in a while, because we need that reminder. Even myself, if I don't listen to a Dhamma talk for a while, you actually forget. Like you forget about the Dhamma. You know what I mean? And then when you listen to it again, even though you know it, just that reminder sort of like gives you that inspiration that you're doing something good for your life. And in a sense, it does refocus the mind, and it puts it back on track. But yeah, so I think what the Buddhist Fellowship is doing, just playing talks every week, even though we have busy lives and we forget what our main goals are spiritually, just having that reminder is very helpful. It keeps our mind on track. And that's why I think Ajahn Brahm, he'll give a talk every Wednesday night if he can. He knows that we all know the Dhamma, but it's just that little reminder, that bit of inspiration that refocus the mind. And the truth is, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's like the mind is like what? It's like, think about it, right? As a Buddhist, how much Dhamma do we need to retain in our minds in order to practice? That's a good question. You should ask Ajahn Brahm that. Do we have to retain the Dhamma in our minds all the time? Once a week? Should we be thinking about it all the time? But then I think I was actually talking to somebody, and it's like, now the Dhamma, it's like the Dhamma are it's the words that you read, the words that you listen to. That's like, it's like one part of the Dhamma. But as a practitioner, you want to turn the Dhamma into like everyday experience. The Dhamma becomes alive within you, and you don't need to think about kindness. You are kind, right? You don't need to think about right speech. You're speaking right speech. The Dhamma is growing within you. The Dhamma is becoming you. You don't think about letting go. You know how to let go. There's a big difference there. There are the words, and there are the actions. Things like that. Yeah, and it's just like to me, when I give a talk, it's just words of encouragement. I'm not here to like break down the Dhamma in a scholastic way. I'm just here to just talk about just what's on my mind, and just trying to be as honest as possible. Because I think I always thought that if you teach the Dhamma, then you teach what works for you. Because it works for you, then it might work for somebody else. But if you teach the Dhamma and it hasn't worked for you, there's a good chance that it might not work for somebody else. So yeah, that's how I approach it. and yeah, that's how it is. I think that's enough, eh?
Thank you, Ajahn.
Huh?
Sadhu,
Okay.
sadhu. Any questions, brothers and sisters?
Hi, Ajahn. Thanks for all the reminders.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, my question is like in Singapore, right? We are always taught to strive and work hard, even though when we are kids, when we are young, we have to do well in school. We have to get like 100 marks for our spelling and
Yeah, yeah.
when we grow older and we are in a working world, like you can see like everybody is like striving to always get the promotion or the next shiny gadget. So how do we actually actually not be tempted to chase after these things, but also maintain a balance, like a work life kind of balance? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think it's like
Ajahn, sorry, before that, I actually have the same question. And to add on to it, when we follow the Dhamma, and then you feel okay, I can let go.
Yeah.
And then when I got my kid, suddenly I cannot let go. I'm going to get 100 marks for him. So
Oh my God.
yeah. So how because in Singapore it's so pressurized. So do you have any advice for us? I have the same question.
Yeah, I think we can't change who we are in the situation that we're in, but we can always implement the Dhamma somehow. It's sort of like when you look at monks and their characters. Yeah, you think the Dhamma would change the monk's character? Say, Ajahn Brahm will always be who Ajahn Brahm is. He's going to be English. He's going to be intellectual. He's just going to be him. And what has happened in his case was he was able to take the Dhamma and just implement that in his life. And slowly that will make the necessary changes for him to be a more peaceful kind of person. And sort of in the same way, like for myself, I'm just the same kind of guy I was 20 years ago. I'm the same kind of guy that grew up in Australia, and as Australians, we don't really as a practitioner, I don't really change who I am, but I just implement the Dhamma into my life, and the Dhamma will make those necessary changes that you need to make. And instead, you get taught like being in Singapore, it's competitive. You got to strive. You got to be the best. You got to study well and do that kind of thing at school. And because as a young kid, you get conditioned to do that, so you end up doing that, and that becomes a part of who you are. You can't really. I don't think you need to really focus on that side of like the Singaporean culture, but instead of focus on how you can implement the Dhamma into your practice. And then over time, that Dhamma would change you in a sense where you're not really striving anymore for the flashy, shiny things. You don't want a spotlight in society, but you're just happy to make a living, provide for your family, because that's what you need to do. So in a sense, you see that these things don't really add any value to your life. Yeah. It's like Ajahn Brahm will be always Ajahn Brahm, but because he's implemented the Dhamma in his life, he doesn't value those material things anymore. So as monks, we don't value those material things anymore. We just use the things that we need, but the other stuff we can let go of. I think in the same way, it's like, what are your values now in life? What are you chasing for? And you only chase for things which you think is important to you, which have some sort of meaning. I think after a while, as I was saying, before being a Buddhist, you're different, but after being a Buddhist, you change. But you don't change as a person, but you change as a way of how you look at the world and how you think of what you want to achieve. So yeah, just allow the allow the Dhamma to sink in, and then these changes will happen. So it's like, yeah, I don't really know, but why do you want to push your kids to get like 100 marks at school? It's like, then you see like the pressure that you put on your kids. Yeah. And like, you can just reflect, it's like, how has that kind of culture impacted your mind? Has it been a positive? Did it impact it positively or negatively? And that's something that you don't really want to put on your children. Yeah. But yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. Those are wise words. I have a question actually. It's regarding sense pleasures. Because we are lay people, so thank you for the reminder that we need peace and stillness. Being in the to let to take nature as a teacher, to be patient, and thank you for the reminder. That is very true, and I was very inspired by that. But I also can't. I'm also I like my sensual desire pleasures too much. So I love music, and I suppose for you before you were Buddhist, maybe you were a chef. So maybe there was a sense pleasures in taste, and I do too. I love food. So does that mean that we have to detach ourselves completely to live?
No, I don't think so. It's
Can I still enjoy my music? I mean, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you can. You can still enjoy your music. You can still enjoy your food. Like when we talk about this path, it's a path of it's like a gradual training and a letting go. So, but in order to let go, it's you have to. It's like letting go works when you can let go of something and pick up something else. And in the case of like meditators, the reason why we find it a little bit easier to let go of the sensuality is because we have pleasure in something else. And that's pleasure in the meditation. So it's not a sin to enjoy your music or the food that you eat. But then it's like, if you implement like certain different practices, say you really get into your meditation, so then you end up spending many hours doing that. There's no time for you to listen to music. So that's how you sort of let go of something and pick up something else. So that's I think that's how it works. It's like, in a monastery, even though we may live away from the world, we can still find distractions. But they're like different. They're more wholesome. Like, we can build, or we can study, or we can start giving talks. They're wholesome things to do, but the main focus for us is the meditation. And if we see ourselves moving away from meditation, then it's like, there's something not right with the practice. If you know what I mean.
So Ajahn will await your nuns monastery.
Huh?
We'll await your nuns monastery. We'll be happy to go and
yes,
calm our minds there.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, the more you get into meditation, the more you let go of the world. It happens naturally. So and in a sense, that's how we judge. Like, as monks, that's how we judge what Buddhism is. It's mainly focused on the meditation, because from that meditation, that's where all the insights come from to liberate the mind. So a good indicator that you're letting go of a lot of stuff is how much are you meditating. If you meditate a lot, that means you're letting go of the worldly things. If you're meditating a little, that means you're still there's still a lot of attachment there. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like
Ajahn,
I said, like you're a tree growing in the forest. It doesn't matter. As long as you're growing, that's the main thing.
I dare not tell you how much I meditate, Ajahn.
that's fine. That's fine. As long as it's like, you know, when you meet people in life, is, you know, the wholesome, virtuous ones that give a lot of their time to like a higher purpose. Those are the ones that people like being around. And in a sense, if you can live life like that, you're benefiting the world around you and the people around you. So yeah, you should be happy about that.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn. Sister Eileen is very strong in her sila, and I remember Ajahn Brahm once said that people like this do not have to worry about the meditation, because when they start meditating, it will be zoom into fantastic levels. I remember that.
Yeah, that's like I was saying earlier. It's like Dhamma practice is like a momentum. What you do in your life adds up into the practice
Yes.
of meditation.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, Ajahn.
You are Ajahn.
Any more questions?
Not from me.
I think, yes, thank you for the very, very thoughtful and thought-provoking talk. Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, no worries.
Maybe
Happy to help
Actually,
out.
yes, but Ajahn, before did you have before you were Buddhist?
Yeah.
Just asking, how did you get into Buddhism?
Oh, it's happened so long ago.
That's always interesting to the audience, you know.
I
For
know it's always interesting to the
it's always
audience.
interesting, yes.
Yeah. It's like, for me, I think it's just like for a lot of people. If you ask them why they become a Buddhist, it's because they wanted to like sort of like fix something in their lives. Yeah, or they see a problem. I don't know what it is, but they're looking for some sort of answer. So I was in that same boat. I was like looking for some sort of answer, looking for, like, I was young, you know, like I think I was 21 at the time when I became a Buddhist, and I had the problems of a 21-year-old. So I was like, yeah, but then I thought differently about it, and my mind sort of like was interested in the meditation practice. So because I knew somehow intuitively that meditation or like fixing yourself was the answer. Not going to like a psychologist, taking medication, or going to like some sort of clinic to fix my problems. I always thought you had to do it yourself. So that's what really sort of like um, guided my mind towards Buddhism and meditation. Yeah, because I don't know how I knew, but I knew that meditation was connected to Buddhism, etc., etc. And then that's how I got interested in the Dhamma, interested in Buddhism, and I just took it from there. Yeah.
It was there because in Vietnam, I understand
Yeah.
The main denomination of Buddhism is Zen. So I was wondering whether, if it's not too personal a question, did you ever consider Zen?
Because at the time it was before the internet, and it was difficult to get information, and I didn't really know what type of Buddhisms we had in Perth. So I couldn't really investigate what was out there. So the places that I went to was just friends of friends who knew a place. So I went to this like a Vietnamese nun, and I went there to learn how to meditate. And at the time I wanted to become a monk, and she said, "Oh yeah, just go to Vietnam and become a monk." And at the time, my mother was listening to a Zen Buddhist monk, and she really liked him, and she told me that that's a place where you can meditate. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll go there and try it out. But then one thing led to another. My mum had another friend, and she knew about Bodhinyana Monastery. I didn't even know about it. You know, living in Perth for 20 years. Yeah, I went there. I went to Dhammaloka to have a look. And lucky enough, there was a Buddhist monastery in Perth. So I didn't have to travel overseas to find a place. And I just decided to go to Serpentine. Yeah, and then I still remember the first day in Serpentine, just getting out of the city and into the forest. It was like a complete shock to the senses. Because in the city, you just hear cars, radios, and music. And like before becoming a monk, you try to get as much sensuality experiences that you can, because you know you're going to let it go. And then you go into a monastery, and then when you're there, it's like completely different. You're in the forest. You can hear the kookaburras. You can hear the insects, and it's actually quite challenging to the mind. Yeah, it's like going somewhere that you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen around the corner, whether you're going to like it or not. So just being young and being like, in a sense, carefree. I'm like a carefree kind of person. So I just went there with, I don't think I thought about it for a few years. I did think about it for a few years before I decided to take that big step and join the monastery. You just think about it, contemplate, see whether you want to do it or not. And then I thought, yeah, I might as well. I didn't really have much going for myself anyways. I was working in the kitchen. I had my friends, but that was about it. So I was like, yeah, why not? I don't have any commitments. I don't have children. I don't have a career. I don't have nothing. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. So I gave it a go.
That's like it's like not having anything but having everything. That's a huge blessing.
Yeah, and I have to say, honestly, the problems that I had before becoming a monk and the person that I am today, I think if I didn't have the monastic life or the Dhamma, I wouldn't become the person I am today. It works in its own way.
Oh, that's very inspiring.
Because I can imagine, like, if I didn't become a Buddhist and I was the person I was, 17 years ago, then I wouldn't be this virtuous. I wouldn't be this peaceful. I wouldn't be this happy. I would have been living the way of the world. Yeah.
Ajahn, would you like to introduce to the audience how your Kusala Hermitage is coming along?
Okay, so it's coming along very well. It's actually going on very well. It's a lot of hard work. I am very grateful for the people who have been helping me out to build it, especially like the people who's living with me right now. You have Ajahn JR and you have Rob, and they've been on site with me most of the time, and it's actually a huge sacrifice for us, because it's a sacrifice because, like, compared to how we used to live in Bodhinyana, you only had to work like 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, which is nothing compared to what we're doing now. So we're there 5 days a week and doing about 6 to 7 hours. So after dana, we go there and work until the evening time. Yeah, so we do all the handy stuff, we do the tiling, we're going to put the floorboards in, we do the painting, and we're trying to build as much of it as possible. Because, as you know, like in Australia, it's quite expensive to hire tradies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really expensive. Like, you can get, like, in Australia, right? You can get a salary of you can get a pretty good salary being a tradie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we and plus, you know, I'm kind of handy, so I don't mind doing the work myself. I actually quite enjoy it. But so that's why I'm really grateful to Ajahn JR. He's not a builder, but he's there every day that I'm there helping out. So I'm really grateful for that. And so yeah, it's just coming along, and we think we're going to move in, I think in March the 1st. Yeah, and it used to be a horse stables, so just like a basically a shed, and we're converting it into a 4-bedroom house for monks. And also I designed it so it was nice in a sense because we could design the whole layout again. So there wasn't like existing bedrooms or existing toilets or existing lounge rooms. That was the nice thing about it. So we can sort of design it in a way which is suitable for monks and lay people. So when I built it, my intention was to cater for monastics and also to cater for lay people because they come in every day to give us dana. Yeah. So it's coming along nicely. I'm quite happy to do it, and yeah, it's just nice to have another place for people to just practice Buddhism, to learn about the monks. In the future, hopefully a place to stay, and if people want to ordain, they can ordain. We're just creating like an opportunity, creating opportunity for future generations. We want to, know a bit about the Buddhist lifestyle, and that's all it is. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakantu sabba devata sabba buddha nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakantu sabba devata sabba dhamma nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba Mangalang rakantu sabade wata sabba sangha nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for tuning in to the Buddhist Fellowship. Next week, we are honored to have Sis Sylvia Bay delivering the 3rd and final installment of the Death and Beyond series. This talk will be titled A Practitioner's Mission. If you would like to know how to practice for a good rebirth, do tune in. The 13th November Sunday is also our Buddhist Fellowship AGM Day, so do join in, but take note that only members are allowed.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Ettavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang menya tinang ho tu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.